This is where I wait for it to show up. There it is.
Oh man, Andrew Chafin returns to Tigers on minor league deal. That was my Tiger. Let's go.
Amazing on minor league. I love it.
He's back, and I am so here for it.
We're about to go to a Mud Hens game.
Sign me up
Mhm.
as long as we can go to Spaghetti Warehouse after.
I think we could swing that. Alrighty. Come on, do not disturb, and then we can be rolling.
Doke, we are shared on Twitter.
And we're good on Instagram. Hit that record and we're good to go.
Yes, sir, Bob.
Hello and welcome to the Warrior House podcast, where Warrior Pride lives. I'm your host, Ryan Reingart, joined by my co-host, Mike Sangster. Thanks for joining us on episode 89 of the Warrior House podcast.
Can't believe we're rolling into March already.
It's close,
It's
very
close.
close.
We're not quite there yet, but it's gonna march along.
There you go. It's my favorite month. Fun fact, I think I said it last year, so those listening, it might not be that fun of a fact. I love March. It is such a great month.
Is it
Just
because of March Madness, which the
it's
totally valid reason, but
That is definitely a slice of the pie. There's a number of reasons. March Madness is a good one, though. And we get to go on a trip every so often. It seems like we do that. Weather gets a little bit better. St. Patrick's Day is in there. Like, what's not for me? I love it. So,
it's pretty
uh,
solid.
yeah, you'll see me March 1st. I will actually have a smile on my face. But for now, that's not the case. So
Got a
let's
pretty
get sad.
top-heavy episode today.
We sure do. We talked about it last week. A lot of events happened over this last weekend. So let's start out. We got some swimming and dive. Both of our teams were competing at the GLIAC Championships out in Holland, Michigan. And I did actually get to tune into a little bit to this one. I put a fun little story out on our Instagram because the scoreboard that was on screen was not doing too well. But anyway, totaling all that out, the women's swim and dive team, they finished third in the GLIAC competition. And just a little fun fact here, 4 out of the 5 teams that were competing, including Wayne State, are in the top 25 for D2. So pretty stiff competition that Wayne State was going up against. Barbara Munoz won the 200-meter fly. She did set a GLIAC championship record and made the NCAA cut. I did not know that. That is a good catch by Sangster on that one. She also won the 1650-meter free and the 1000-meter free. So just an absolute beast in the pool. So good for her, and I mean, really good for the team. Getting a third place finish there. I think we really wanted a second place finish, to be honest with you. I mean, of course you want to win it, but you got to be Sangster. You and I are going to be the realists here and say Grand Valley's a little bit above the rest, and their numbers all season have shown that.
Yeah, unlike the Chris Dunbar account on Twitter, we do operate in reality sometimes. And yeah, Grand Valley was clearly running away with this thing early on. And as someone who I've competed in races, motocross races before, there is something about running your race when you're clearly outclassed by somebody, and Grand Valley got out to a huge lead early on in this thing. There is something to be said for running your race, not making mistakes so that other people behind you are passing you because you screwed up. At the end of the day, realize, well, maybe second is what we're competing for. Uh, I'm sure that's not always the mentality going in, but towards the end of the race, you kind of know that, mm, okay, second is what we're going to be shooting for, and unfortunately, Wayne State came up in third. Still a solid finish again against extremely good competition.
Yeah, and speaking of the men's team, they finished second out of God. I want to say there was what 8 teams in there. They have quite
Yep.
a few more. Five of the teams, including Wayne State, are top 25 there. So technically speaking, if we want to talk about the order of the rankings there, Wayne State is I think they were fourth highest, so they upset
Yep.
Northern Michigan, St. Cloud State, and Saginaw Valley per the rankings. So really good finish for them. I was following a little bit along with their scores as the weekend went on. But we got William DeBro won the 500-meter free. He also won the 1650-meter freestyle. Olin Charnstrom won the 100-meter backstroke, and then Julio Osuna won the 1-meter dive and got GLIAC Diver of the Year. I don't know how he ended up finishing in the 3-meter dive. I didn't actually look there, but we knew when he came over from UIndy, he was a little bit of a force there, and he just continued on with that and really that helped this team quite a bit. Being able to boost those dive rankings is a big part of the scoring there. So big shout out to that team. Second place, there's something to be said about the fact that I think they outperformed what we would have expected them to see. But like it's not entirely a shock to me. We did say, I know I said on the last podcast, like third place is not out of question, and neither is second place. Just the way that all the standings were kind of or the rankings were looking.
Yeah, and if you look at the final team scores, Wayne State was closer to Grand Valley than Northern Michigan was to Wayne State. So uh, good stuff. At the end of the day, yeah, you would like to win it, but Wayne State had a really solid showing, defeating teams that they were ranked behind. Good stuff from Julio Osuna, and we all know that NCAA Midwest regionals, it's got to be on their list next. That's okay. We didn't win GLIACs. We're gonna jump right into preparing for NCAA's.
One thing I wanted to throw in there really quick.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Weiss actually got in our email about this one. He let us know there are not regionals. They just go straight to
Oh,
nationals. So
oh wow.
really fun
Oh
fact for
yeah,
me
that's right.
there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're good. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, cool. We're on to regionals. We'll see how we do there. No, no, they're straight to nationals. And I'd like to think that they're going to be there. I'd like to think the women's team will also likely be there. We'll do our research and make sure we keep up on all the happenings there. But nonetheless, good stuff from both of our swing and dive teams. On to
Yeah.
basketball, Sangster. We got some women's basketball action to start out with. They were out on the west side of the state, starting out against number 3 in the country, Grand Valley. And Grand Valley ends up winning this one 85-67. And the thing that jumped right off to me, because the shooting stats were not really wildly different for either team. Like when I look at everything across the board, nothing really stuck out as that's a bad number except the turnover number. The Wayne State women's basketball team turned the ball 26 times, and I think Grand Valley was able to cash in on 28 points there. So huge number of turnovers. I would argue that's probably the highest number of turnovers Wayne State has had in a game this season. I'd be blown away if it was at any point was higher than that. And you're going against a really good team that we know defensively is very good, and we know offensively is very good. And they showed both of that there. I mean, Grand Valley probably forced Wayne State into a ton of those turnovers and they put up 85 points. So that's the story of that game to me.
Yeah. It is a shame because you look, Wayne State had 11 for 22 from 3-point line. That's 50%. That you tell me that Wayne State goes 50% in a game, I'm saying, hey, they're going to win that one. Unfortunately, turning it over is never a key for success, and Grand Valley is a good team in that they're going to force you to do that. Also, from the free throw line, not exceptional, 6 for 11. Not the difference maker, but certainly a factor in win and why Wayne State lost this game. Part of that I'm going to assume is because of Grand Valley, and over the years I've noticed that their cheer team has a way of affecting free throws, which I'm not sure is allowed. But I digress. Wayne State unfortunately loses this game against some very steep competition.
Yeah, and this is one of those. this is an away weekend, and you're starting out against, again, I'll say it, maybe the best team in the country on their home court. It is a tall order to go and win this game. Regardless of how many points we didn't win by, it goes in the same column as a loss. So what the big concern there is following that game, no hangovers, no bad feelings. This cannot carry over into the Saturday game against Davenport, who is roughing it a little bit this season, to put it lightly. And it didn't. Wayne State, the women's basketball team, went out there and did exactly what they needed to do, won the game, and done it in very convincing fashion. Ended up getting this one 76-49, just about how you want it to happen. Some of the stats, not as good of a shooting day, which is kind of surprising because we put up more points. But 31% from three, not, you want it to be a little bit higher than that. You want to be in the mid to upper 30s. It kind of feels like from the field, 41% did pretty decent, but they cut the turnovers way down to 11 turnovers. And then you look down and, yeah, Davenport got only 7 points on that one. So things like that in this one, maybe it doesn't necessarily matter how good you're shooting the ball on a certain day. You're just not giving the other team more opportunities than they're normally going to get.
Yeah, it was a really solid showing from Wayne State. A pretty typical game, I guess you could say. Shea Tripp, Alyssa Leister, and McKenna Ferguson were your leading scorers in this one. Uh, but yeah, aside from just being a dominating win over a roughing it Davenport team, it's exactly what Wayne State needed after a tough showing at Grand Valley.
Yeah, it is. So they come away on the way weekend. Doesn't really matter who they play to meet. They came back with one win and one loss. They split the series. Exactly what you want to see happen at the very least. So uh no hard feelings there about the Thursday game against Grand Valley. We have many more opportunities. So, but talking about the men's basketball team here, Sangster, they were also out at Grand Valley on Thursday, and they won an absolute nail biter. This one coming down to the wire. Grand Valley really showed out in the second half here, but Wayne State ends up winning 67-66, and that's a huge win. I will call it what it is. That is a huge win against a team that you were basically right next to in the standings, and now you got to win over them. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's a series split for us.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, Wayne State lost a close one at home way early in the season. It was a weird
Yeah.
one, but overall, Wayne State played a good. I wouldn't call it an A game if you look at the 3-point shooting, uh, but Wayne State played well enough to win. And even towards the last couple minutes of the game, Grand Valley would not just go away. They were chucking up threes and they were making them. And that, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little scary. And even on the day, Grand Valley wasn't shooting it well from three until the end of the game. So props to Wayne State for hanging tough. They scored just enough to win, making your free throws at the end of the game. Uh, Big set here, free throws. First half they were 1 for 4. Second half they were perfect, 10 for 10.
There's a good number right there. Definitely coming down the line. That's one number you want to make sure you're cashing in there. So that's such a huge win, Sayings. You're talking about the fact that you're on an away trip and you win a game against a team that you're kind of trying to jump in the standings. You get a chance. They're right there, and they were able to. Wayne State men's basketball team was able to win that one, which means Saturday is kind of gravy. Again, regardless of who you're playing, even if you don't win the game, you still went on an away trip in conference and at least split. The Wayne State men's basketball team didn't care anything about that. They went over to Davenport. Their men's basketball team is also roughing it this season, and we won that game 81-70. So we had an away sweep in conference play, which for a team that's really trying to get closer to like the middle, maybe the top four in the GLIAC standings, might be a little bit of a stretch. They did exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, they definitely did because Wayne State, as far as I know, needs still to win out, but they needed these two games, especially Grand Valley because they're so close in the standings, and just to be able to follow up against Davenport, who has again not been doing great. The first half was a little dicey. Wayne State was able to turn it on. In the second half, though, a really big weekend for Carmelo Harris. He was the leading scorer in both games. He had 18 points in the game against Grand Valley. He had 19 in the game against Davenport. So really great to see him. Uh, leading the Warriors in both games, and also being able to break the curse of, apparently, and I don't know how we didn't catch it first, but heard on the radio from Kevin Breckmacher that Wayne State wins at like a clip of now 9-1 on Thursdays, and it's the exact opposite on Saturday or Roosevelt Monday games, non-Thursday games. They're like 1-9, or now they're 2-9 or something like that. Really crazy, but Wayne State was able to kind of break that curse and get the win here at Davenport.
Yeah, this was I remember kind of hearing a little bit about this game, tuning in for just a couple of minutes there. And then Jordy Briggs, I know, was going off. So I know in addition to Carmelo Harris, Jordy Briggs off the bench, 23 points, puts up, I'm sorry, 23 minutes, puts up
Yep.
15 points, does absolute damage from the free throw line, 9 for 10. I mean, exactly what you need. I mean, this was kind of a little bit of a close game, but it really needed the big second half from Wayne State. And again, like being able to sweep that that away conference weekend is so good. And this team's really starting to kind of show out, and hopefully they can continue on. I remember we were just talking about the Grand Valley game. We talk about the guard play quite a bit too. And Rob Lee Jr. on that Thursday game went 0 for 7. And in the Saturday game, dialed it back a little bit from the 3 point line. But all of that happening, and we still found a way to win both of the games. That's a team that's starting to click. So very excited to see what they do this coming weekend. But we will talk about that in the second half of this episode.
Yep. Next up, we got some softball action, and Wayne State was down at the Lewis Dome Invitational. And first game up was against Bemidji State. I think they're the Beavers, and wow, Wayne State crushed them 14-2. Uh, nothing really beyond that. You smoked them. I don't think
Yeah, no
there's much more
kidding.
you can say about it.
Nope, that's the story on that game.
Yeah, unfortunately, on the same day, they weren't able to back it up. They lose to St. Cloud State, 5-2. St. Cloud State came in with a pretty excellent record. They were 10-3 to Wayne State's 3-2. So they had a few more games under their belt. Looks like they're going to be a really solid team this year as well. So Wayne State unfortunately wasn't able to get it done, and actually, I'm just looking at the box score now. Unfortunately, it all came for St. Cloud State in the sixth inning. They had a
Mm,
5-inning, 5-run sixth inning uh, to Wayne State's 2 runs. So shame they couldn't get it done on a Thursday. And likewise, also
Saturday games.
on the Saturday games, they lose in a close one to the host Lewis. Uh, Unfortunately, Lewis looks like they won this one on a walk-off because they scored the last 2 runs in the seventh inning. So Wayne State unfortunately dropped this one 3-2 to Lewis. Lewis came in 500. Now Wayne State was 500 at this one as well, and unfortunately couldn't keep up with Minnesota Duluth at the last game of the doubleheader. Minnesota came in with a 10-4 record. Again, they've played a lot of games. Looks like they're going to be a solid team. Uh, Wayne State couldn't get it done, and again in the in the seventh inning, uh, Minnesota Duluth puts on an 11-run seventh inning. So
Rough.
I think the moral of this trip is there are some things that need to be worked on. Looks like in the closing pitching, might be an issue for Wayne State through the rest of the season, but it's a long time. There's still time to work on it. And these games, they're not conference losses.
That is very true. I mean, it's funny because I know there's always like in baseball, you have like a 3 game series for like Major League Baseball. And in one of the games, like a team will put up like 15 points and then put up like 2 runs both the next games. You're like, why couldn't they save some of those runs? Well, it doesn't work that way, but it's funny because like I was thinking that as you were like, yeah, they won 14-2 in that first game. Why couldn't we hold some of those runs for the next games? Because yeah, I
Right.
mean, like defensively for those first, like you're doing pretty good when it comes to pitching, with the exception of that, that 5 run inning, and they're putting themselves in positions to be able to win these games. That last one, 6-16, we'll just go ahead and
Mm.
skip over that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a softball team, and we've talked about the last couple of seasons that they're trending upwards. It's probably not going as fast as some of us and some of the team actually want it to happen, but they're improving and they're continuing to get better every season, it seems to me.
Yep.
So, a little bit of a rough away trip there, but there's some things to like, some things to work on. But like you said, I think you put it best. No conference losses in there. So,
Right.
we'll be back to talk about them in the second half as well. So, we also had some men's tennis action, Sangster, along with 47 other sports. We'll kind of get through these pretty quick because I know we're running a little bit long here in the first half of this episode. But back on Friday, the men's tennis team was home against Finley. We got a 7-0 shutout win. It means we got the doubles points and all the singles points. Saturday, a very funky turnaround here as we have the men's tennis team heading up to Northwood in Midland, Michigan. Snuck out a 4-3 win in this one. So that's a pretty impressive one. But then what's even weirder is Sunday, the team goes out to Kalamazoo to take on Western Michigan, and we do lose that one 2-5. We did end up winning the doubles point in that one. I believe it was. I actually don't even have the box score in front of me, but
You want the singles? Benjamin.
the doubles.
Oh, okay. Well, Benjamin Hill got the lone singles point as well.
Yes, I
Uh,
did see that. He was in the sixth spot, right? Like number six singles.
yes.
Yeah, so good for him.
Yeah, in doubles, the team of George Day and Cedric Drenth won, and then Tom Wasner and Sam Knowles won also.
Yeah, so we got off to a good start. I mean, it's what you
Yep.
want to do in tennis. If you get that 1 point advantage, split the singles, but I mean, you're going up against a D1 team that uh, consistently goes up against high quality competition. So, uh, but also like we were just also talking about, that's 3 straight days Wayne State was playing in all different venues. So a lot of traveling in there, a lot of action, really good. I mean, down the stretch, I feel like that's going to pay dividends. I mean, it's quality opponents you're going up against. Fun fact on this one, Sangster, apparently Western Michigan has also played some other GLIAC teams.
Yep, they played Grand Valley twice, and Western beat them 7-0 and 5-2, just like Wayne State. They also played Ferris, who they also beat 6-1. So kind of a barometer game against Western Michigan. So you can see even with all this roster turnover that Wayne State's had, they're still right up there alongside Grand Valley and Ferris, and maybe a little better. So I think good things are still going to happen this season. Uh, a loss against a Division One Western Michigan certainly isn't going to tank anything, especially this early on.
Yeah, 100%. So good stuff from the men's tennis team. 2-1, 2 wins, 1 loss this weekend. A lot more good stuff to come from them. We'll also talk about them in the second half. Really quickly here, the track and field team was up at University Center for the SVSU tune-up. This is usually the weekend before regionals, I believe. Or
GLIAC,
I'm sorry, GLIAC championships. Thank you. We're getting all over the place with these. No records set in this one, which is very unfortunate because it seems like every time lately the women's track and field team has gone out, they've been putting up some records. But a couple of first place finishes here, specifically from Elise Miller. I see on here we got Sasha Gay Thompson. We have Rachel Felstow, Reagan Justice. The list keeps going on. Megan Zanau. Some are new names in there. So Renee Kucha, Kucha. Lots of good stuff. I mean, it's nothing new that this team continues to perform very well as we get into GLIAC championships. That'll be very interesting. And their season is not over. They got a lot more time going still, with a lot of provisional times being set as well. So we'll be talking about the track and field team for a couple of weeks still, it kind of feels like. So the most exciting event, I think, Sangster, was only because we were hosting it, was the Central Collegiate Fencing Conference Championships. Pretty big Midwest conference, specifically for fencing. On the Saturday, the women's fencing team went 1-5 overall in their bouts against the opponents, so they went up against 6 other teams. The Epee squad, however, ended up placing second. So that's the bread and butter of this fencing team right now for the women. Rika Galfalvi finished second in Epee, so she was a big part of that. And then the men's fencing team, they went 3-1 on Saturday in their bouts against the team opponents. Mahmoud El Sayed wins the Epee for the men, and Zayad Nofal gets second place in Sabre. Big stuff there. Ohio State, I believe, was a pretty big uh, a pretty big winner, I believe, on the men's side, maybe also the women's side. I don't remember, but I was looking on the men's side, and they pretty much were podium finishers for all three different weapons.
Gotcha. Yeah, and again, Wayne State's going up against schools with much bigger enrollments, much bigger budgets that are D1 throughout all their sports. This is Wayne State's only Division I sport as of 2011. So good stuff from the team as a whole. Really good showings and put themselves in a good position for Midwest regionals.
They sure did. So last sport, Sangster, we got baseball. This is a weird one. We were supposed to be able to talk about all four of these games, but due to some weather, the games got moved. So at a time of recording, which is Monday, February 24th, 2025, at 6:55 p.m. Eastern time, the Wayne State baseball team has played two of those games. So they back to the 2-day doubleheader up. So on day one, which was today, Monday, Wayne State was able to win that first game by a score of 5-3 over Ohio Dominican. And game number two, which wrapped up just recently, Wayne State unfortunately dropped that one 8-13, a bit more of a offensive shootout there. And Ohio Dominican, I remember we were talking about them. They hadn't won a game all season. I think at this point, after that one win, that was their first win. So I think they're at 1-5 right now. So, but nonetheless, Tuesday, which will be by the time if you're watching it live, it's tomorrow. And if you're listening back on this one, this was on Tuesday, February 25th. We don't know what happened because we're not in the future, but there is a doubleheader on the Tuesday against Ohio Dominican to wrap up a very funky weekend for the Wayne State baseball team, but nonetheless, some good early season competition for them.
Yep, and these are going to be the last games for them, at least for the weekend. Doesn't look like they have any coming up.
Yeah. So they'll be on break for a little bit there, and they're going to get some training in, get some practice, figure some things out, and yeah, they'll be right back at it. So next time we talk, we'll make sure we get a little note on those two games there, just to kind of recap where the Wayne State men's baseball team is from a record perspective. But that's what we got, Sangster. So
For the
lots of
first.
sports that happened over the last week. So we will take a quick break, and when we come back, we got fewer sports to talk about, but nonetheless, some big opportunities for our Wayne State athletics teams.
Absolutely.
That was a lot. Holy crap! I'm lightheaded. Alrighty.
All right, let's get some GLIAC Shooty Hoops standings. So, fun fact, if Wayne State ends up going to one of the UP schools, I might end up going
Oh yeah, dude.
because I have to do some work up in the UP at some point.
Nice.
What better time if Wayne State has to go up there?
Oh shit. Does Northern Michigan play tonight?
Yeah,
They
because I
do.
like Roosevelt.
Yeah, they're on at 8:30.
Beautiful.
Come on, Roosevelt. Pull Northern Michigan straight down.
Does that help?
I mean,
Yeah,
pulls for men,
yeah,
it
it'll make
does.
them 10-8, make them tied
That's a three-way tie, and we split the series
with both of them.
with both.
Dang.
And then the Northern Michigan men, I'm sorry, the Northern Michigan women, that would help because we'd be one game behind third place.
That should be going on right now.
Oh, yeah, they're probably about 30 minutes in. Northern Michigan's up 3 points right now.
With how much time?
I think it's halftime.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, wait, no. No, there's 6 minutes left in the second quarter.
Okay, so they've got some time, but
So you're telling me there's a chance.
yeah, 12-6 would be huge. That would make them tied with, well, okay, we're gonna give it away for the folks live, but we'll probably say it again. That would make them tied with Parkside if Northern Michigan loses. And I mean, Wayne State would still need to think they would still need to win both games.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, a 1-1 home series this weekend does not. I mean,
No.
that means almost kind of regardless of what happens. Like, yeah, they both need to win next weekend. This weekend.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess the only worry with the Roosevelt women winning is they're they're closer to being able to take over Wayne State for fifth place,
Yeah. I
but we
mean,
play
but
like Superior State. So
I mean, I'd rather go to Northern than I would Parkside, but
that's just because Northern Michigan gives you the opportunity to go.
that too, yeah.
Like,
But
Ryan, don't call me out like that.
I mean, you're more familiar with Northern, and even though Parkside has been in the league for a while.
Funny enough, the new episode of Bar Rescue, he
Mhm.
rescued a bar in Kenosha. That was literally on last night. I was watching it. I was like, oh my. It was funny. Like before, like right when the show started, they do like the little intro thing and they like kind of like highlight the bar a little bit. Before they even
John
said
Haffer's gonna help a bar in Kenosha.
before they even said the name of the city, they showed bar dice, like a bar games.
Oh,
Like a bunch
oh
of
yeah.
old people were sitting around, and I'm like, oh my God, they're in Wisconsin. And Bree was like, how do you know that? I'm like, because I just saw bar games.
So what you're saying is John Taffer ruined a perfectly good dive bar in Kenosha.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a bar that we would hang out at. And the funny thing is, like, there was a comedian that talked about that. He's like, I like a bar before John Taffer rescues it.
I mean, shame on the locals for not going to bars like that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there
it's
it
their
is.
fault.
That is true. It's so funny. Alrighty, I'm ready for the second half when you are.
Make one thing and
Do it. And I will sit here and do my slam poetry.
Okie dokie.
Alrighty, let's roll.
3, 2, 1, and go.
And we're back. Couple sports, Sangster. Big, big, big weekend for basketball. This is the one that ends it. This
A,
is the end.
a huge weekend, if you
A,
will.
a huge weekend. This is the end of the regular season. So this is really your last chance to put your best foot forward. Luckily, we're ending out on the home court for both women's and men's basketball team. So we'll start out with the women's basketball team, who are currently at an overall record of 16-10, and they are 11-7 in the conference. And they have a pretty good team coming to town on Thursday in Ferris State. Ferris State is 19-8 overall, 13-5 in conference play. For those who were watching on the live stream, or for those who are watching back on the live stream, we were kind of chatting a little bit about like what the tournament standings, the impact of all that. So if you're watching, you already kind of got the spoiler. But for those who are just now listening now, the Fair State team is wildly like we're not really chasing Fair State at this point. They're pretty comfortably in the top three, top four, so somewhere around there. So they're not exactly out of reach, but they're not really who we're going after. What we are going after is that four seed. And the four seed basically means the quarterfinal game, you get to play at home. And then, at the semifinal and the finals, which is the final weekend of tournament play, that happens at the the remaining highest seed. So Grand Valley, for instance, if it's not Grand Valley, then it's Ferris. So,
If it's not Ferris,
oh,
then it's Northern. If it's not Northern, then it's Parkside. If it's not Parkside,
yeah,
then it's Wayne State.
yep, exactly. So why do we bring that up? Because if we want to be in the competition for at all a home playoff game, it probably means we got to win both of the games this weekend. And Ferris State is a tough one. So, uh, you know, thinking back, Sangster, the first time that we played Ferris State,
Not
the
great.
outcome of that one was a little bit rough.
Yeah, 82-65 loss at their arena at the time. Ferris State was receiving votes. I'm not sure if they are currently ranked right now. They might not be anymore.
So yeah, so that Ferris State team comes to town. That's one that the Wayne State women's basketball team. That's the very much the tougher game of the weekend, and avenge that loss against Ferris, protect your home court, boost yourself in the standings because there's a chance that with that win, Saturday could be huge implications. So with that, let's talk about Saturday because regardless of what happens on a Thursday against Ferris State, the women's basketball team also has to take on Lake Superior State on Saturday. Lake Superior State is as we like to say, roughing it. They are 5-21 overall, 2-16 in conference play, and that's one of those ones like you gotta win that one. Um, Likely. I mean, standing wise, it might not make any impact, but for the sake of you
Pride's sake.
being, yeah, for pride's sake of
And
being,
it's your senior night.
and it's your senior night, of being one of the top four, top five teams in the GLIAC, that's one that you got to go out there and win.
Yeah, and there's nothing really more to be said that, you need to handle your business against Lake Superior State. At the very least, you're treating it as a tune-up for going into the GLIAC tournament. One thing I did want to circle back to Ferris on, I was just looking at the history of Wayne State against Ferris. Right now, Wayne State does come in with a three-game losing skid against them, I believe, including. No, I don't think that was in the GLIAC tournament. But either way, right now they're in a three-game losing skid. Both Wayne State and Ferris tend to be a little streaky with each other. Usually, Wayne State will get on a little bit of a run. Ferris will counter it with their own, and then it'll switch back off. Thing is, Wayne State hasn't had a three-game losing streak against Ferris since 2009. Uh, that's before Coach Lore. So, yeah, there is a little something to be said for this game. I would like to see a Wayne State win. Will it happen? I think it's going to take more willpower than necessarily the X's and O's or players on the court, but things can happen. It is at the field house. And then just following up, no matter what happens, just handle your business against Lake Superior State. However, the cards come out for the GLIAC tournament, it's how it's going to happen. So, at the end of the day, do what you can and live with the results.
I do want to say that Sangster said we're going to circle back. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a pin in that one. We'll run it up the flagpole and then we'll take it offline. So there's where we're at with
Yeah,
that
can I
one.
see you after this Zoom call?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hang? Can you hang on after the call? So good luck to the Wayne State women's basketball team. Spoiler alert: we cannot be there. We're going to be out of town this weekend, but we will be following along and possibly watching from afar as we are doing fun things out of town. So bummer that it's a home weekend that we're missing, but it is what it is. Life happens, and we just roll with it. So the men's basketball team also has a very big opportunity in front of them this weekend. They are currently at 14-12 overall. They're 10-8 in conference play. I'm going to make a very short comment about the fact that they are not 500 right now. They are above it, but I will not talk much more about that because they have two games coming up this weekend. And those numbers are, yeah, so we'll see here. So, but they got some tough competition coming to town, Sangster. They got Ferris State on Thursday at a 23-6 overall record, 13-5 in conference play. Ferris State's a good team. And it's looking at the way that the men's basketball standings shape out. That win against Grand Valley was huge. We also talked about the fact that Northern Michigan, who is a little bit above Wayne State in the standings right now, is playing tonight, Monday, February the 24th, against Roosevelt. So some things could change there. If things go the way that Wayne State wants to go, we could very easily be tied for fifth place in GLIAC play by the end of the day. To be determined, but they're in the mix of it right now. And for what it's worth, that fourth seed is not out of question. We are one game out of fourth place for the GLIAC men's basketball standings.
Yeah, and it all does start with this game against Ferris State. Um, I did hear something on the radio that this is one of Wayne State's actually best seasons, uh, not counting the 2020-2021 uh, GLIAC championship because that was the COVID year, so they didn't have as many games. But this is actually the most games that Wayne State has won since like 2017 or 2018 is what I heard. So good things are happening this season. I feel like the next big step has to be beating Ferris. Unfortunately, Wayne State, and not even recently, it's been going back since we were at Wayne State. Wayne State has had a rough time against Ferris. Right now, they are currently on an 8-game losing streak. The last game they won was in 2021. Uh, I believe it was yeah, because it was that weird year. It was the COVID year where they did double headers against the same two teams. So Wayne State ended up winning that last game against Ferris in Detroit to get the GLIAC championship. The last win also came in 2018, and then you got to go back all the way to, oh boy, my freshman year, um, uh, January 30th of 2014. So needless to say, Ferris is a really great team, well coached, good consistently year in and year out. Beating them, that's the next step, I think, for this coaching staff.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge one. We talked about the fact that this team performs well on Thursday for whatever reason. I don't care what it is. Let's continue that on. Let's get a big Thursday win, and that's going to help. That's going to help quite a bit. I mean, nobody, and I guarantee nobody in GLIAC this weekend has a harder schedule than Wayne State because if Ferris State on Thursday wasn't enough, by the way, Ferris State is third in the GLIAC. If that wasn't enough, on Saturday, Lake Superior State comes to town. They're second in the GLIAC as of now. They're 23-5 overall, and they are 14-4 in conference play. So you get the hardest possible slate of games for the last weekend. And by the way, you have to win both of them. And by the way, that might give you a chance, maybe not at a fourth seed. So I mean, regardless, you want to be a higher seed in this one that gives you a more favorable matchup in most cases when it comes to tournament time. But man, oh man, saying so this is a weekend.
It is a big ask. And again, just like Ferris State, Lake Superior State is one of those, coach has been around a long time. He looks like the dude from Tool. Uh, Very well coached team. Thing is, Wayne State they haven't always won. In fact, that they've lost more than they've won. But Wayne State has pretty consistently played Lake Superior State close, including a big win over them in the GLIAC tournament last year. And even this season, Wayne State unfortunately lost up in Sault Ste. Marie, only a 4-point loss. So there is something to be said that uh, Wayne State definitely has a chance to get this done, especially on their home court. And we'll see how it shakes out on Saturday. There's always a scenario that maybe Lake State doesn't necessarily need this game as much as Wayne State. Uh, so you're kind of hoping that they're not going to come in with, the fire that they might normally have. But you never know how the standings are going to shake out. Uh, but Wayne State does have at least a solid history against Lake State. Unfortunately, it hasn't always translated to wins and losses, but Wayne State definitely has a really nice chance in this game.
Yeah, and something that I just wanted to look up right there is because we're basically in a log jam. Parkside, Northern Michigan, Grand Valley, and Wayne State. Parkside plays both Northern Michigan and Michigan Tech, I guess, for what it's worth. And Grand Valley gets to take on Davenport and Roosevelt. So, I would love to be Grand Valley right now, if I'm being honest with you. But that to be said, like Parkside has some tough competition because they're battling Northern at some point. So one of them is going to give a game at some point. And how it all shakes out in the end, we'll see. We'll hope for the best for Wayne State. It definitely starts with you got to win both of these games if you want a chance at a home game on the first round of the GLIAC tournament. But if not, at least put yourself in a good position to have a favorable matchup for round one. So that's what we got for basketball. What do you got, Sangster?
And we're already ahead of where we were last year again.
Oh yeah.
Wayne State's already they've clinched a spot in the LEAC tournament. We don't have to wait for a buzzer beater against Saginaw Valley storming the court to get into the GLIAC tournament. So even if Wayne State ends up again as the seventh seed like they were last year, know that they've already put themselves in that position to already be in the tournament. Don't gotta sweat this one out necessarily if that's the first step. Now we need to get beyond that.
100%. So, good stuff. Again, I'm bummed that we can't be there, but for those that are going to be in attendance, enjoy it, be loud, get behind this team, help them out. For those listening that did plan on going, get on your calendar, cancel everything, and go to the Wayne State Fieldhouse and support this team, both of these
Yes.
teams, because they are both a lot of fun, and we're not going to be there. Someone's got to make up the noise that we are not going to be able to bring. So that's what
We
we
know
got
that
there,
Claude.
Sangster.
We
Yeah,
know that
Claude
Claude.
will be there.
Yes. Next up, we've got the women's tennis team. They haven't played a lot this season. Right now, they are just 1-0. Haven't started conference play yet, and they've got a Thursday matchup at Hillsdale in Hillsdale, Michigan. Kind of following that up to the men's team, likewise plays Hillsdale, except it's going to be on Saturday in Detroit. And the men's tennis team has played a lot more games than the women's team has. Right now, they are 5-1. That only loss coming against Division One, Western Michigan.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. We're playing both of them. I mean, on different days, nonetheless, but fun stuff for them. I agree with you though. The women's tennis team has not played a whole lot this season. I know they had maybe two games postponed or canceled. I can't really remember, but yeah, they haven't really played a ton. And the men's tennis team has definitely played quite a bit. So they're off to and that 5-1 record. I mean, the turnover that team has had, but the level that they're still performing at is very impressive to me. So yeah, good luck to both of those teams. Hope for some wins over the Hillsdale Chargers.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. See, I remember back in the GLIAC days.
Mhm.
Softball team, they are, believe it or not, Sangster. The softball team is home this weekend against Finley, and we don't have a dome. We don't have an indoor. This is an outdoor softball game, and I actually just had the weather pulled up because I was like, I
In
wonder if
March.
tennis is going to be able to play outside. But we are looking at freezing temperatures, like sub 30 as a high. So that's a very interesting
I mean, it's just like
choice.
opening day for the Tigers most years. So
Yeah, but it is in February. Could very easily have been 10 degrees for all we know. So, but
true.
nonetheless, they are taking on the Finley Oilers. Not that Finley's got a much better climate than we do. It's not that far down the road. But the Wayne State softball team currently at a 3-4 overall record. They have also not gotten into any conference play yet, so they're 0-0 there. Uh, Kind of one of those like I wish I could go to it just because I wonder what softball is like in February. But
I
hoping
mean,
for a good
if
win
it
for
was in
them.
Finland, we probably could have made it.
You're not wrong. There would be a very good chance that we could be able to do that one. But yeah, good
Cool.
luck to the softball team there.
Yeah, and I definitely I checked just to make sure. It is we're not playing it in a dome in the metro area. I'm sure there is some like that around. Nope, this is being played at Gary Bryce Field at Wayne State Softball Stadium.
Crazy. So that'll be an exciting one. Definitely dress warm for that one. Last but not least, thanks sir, a very very exciting event that we got here, which is the Wayne State women's track and field team. They are heading right back up to University Center where they just were for the SVSU tune-up, but this time it is for the GLIAC championships.
Yep, they'll be in Cokeville Township at Saginaw Valley's admittedly very nice indoor facility. Uh, Perfect 70 degrees inside, I'm sure, and they won't have to deal with the same conditions that the softball team does. But wishing the best of luck out to the Wayne State women's track and field team. Again, they've set some really good records this year. I think they have a really nice chance uh, going into the GLIAC championships.
Yeah, kind of almost makes you wish it was last year where the Wayne State basketball teams finished their season up at Saginaw Valley on
Right?
Saturday. And then like
Just
right
hang
next
out.
it in the same building, just be able to go over for the GLIAC track and field championships. But again, yeah, definitely a cool scene up there. So and it's familiar territory now at this point for the Wayne State women's track and field team. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna continue on. They're gonna win plenty of events up there, we hope. Maybe set some records and put themselves in a really good uh, position for regionals, championships. I actually don't even
I
really
think
know
they
what's
I
next for
think they
them.
have regionals, yeah.
I think they do too. Yeah. So that's what we got, Sangster. Definitely a lighter slate, but still a heavy slate of games. I mean, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of heavy stuff going on. So opportunities for our teams.
Yep, definitely.
So that's what we got for everybody. So appreciate everybody listening in on episode 89 of the Warrior House podcast.
And remember, it's always a great day to be a Wayne State Warrior. Bye, Utub.
Bye, YouTube.